Welcome back. I'm John Balla, Chief Content Creator of the Critical Thinking Literacy channel. In Part 1, we met the two wolves that live in your head. System 1, fast, automatic, emotional, always running. And System 2, slow, deliberate, analytical, and famously lazy. We learned the one thing the old parable gets wrong. These two wolves are not equals. System 1 needs no incentives. It is always running. System 2 needs to be trained in order to engage intelligently. If this doesn't happen, it will simply rubber stamp System 1. Today we find out what that actually looks like. Because System 2 doesn't show up in just one way. It shows up in three, and telling them apart is the whole game. Thinking, Fast and Slow, Part 2. The three personas of System 2. Here's the claim I want to prove to you. The same person with the same brain can be brilliant at 9 a.m. and a fool by 4 p.m. and never notice the moment it happened. I've had that experience more often than I care to admit. Here are the three different personas of System 2. Persona 1, the defender, who advocates for a bad System 1 position. Persona 2, the interventionist, who disrupts the current path System 1 is on and takes over. Or Persona 3, the capitulator, who enters the cognitive pipeline upstream as a System 1 interventionist, only to exhaust its fuel tank and shapeshift back into the defender persona further downstream. Recognizing these three personas within ourselves is the first step toward building a strategy that best utilizes System 2 when it matters most. Let's take a deeper dive into each. Persona 1, the defender. This persona depicts lazy System 2 as a servant to System 1, a rubber stamp that validates the System 1 decision. Picture a job interview. A candidate walks in, firm handshake, sharp suit, same university you went to. Before a single real question is asked, your verdict is in. This is the one. What just decided it? Not evidence. It just feels right. But as we know from behavioral science, feelings are not facts. And right on cue, System 2, acting out its characteristic laziness, rubber stamps the System 1 hiring decision. Kahneman himself put it bluntly. System 2 is more an apologist for the emotions of System 1 than a critic of them. An endorser, not an enforcer. And that's what makes it dangerous. An irrational hunch has been laundered into what looks like a careful professional judgment. Persona 2, the interventionist. This is System 2 at its very best. But this optimal performance comes at a high price and with real limits. Now we have a different scene. A radiologist pulls up a chest scan. System 1 pattern matches instantly. Clean, normal, next. The easy feeling of certainty is the pull toward a fast clearance. But here's what makes this different. The radiologist was trained to treat that effortless certainty as a warning sign, not a green light. Instead of rubber stamping, System 2 intercepts the pending System 1 decision before the trap snaps shut. The radiologist activates a deliberate tripwire. This feels too easy. Stop. Run the checklist. The radiologist asks, if a small nodule were here, have I actually ruled it out? And just like that, what was overlooked initially is discovered. That faint opacity was indeed a nodule. The override wasn't heroism. It was a rule the radiologist installed in advance. Treat easy certainty as suspicious. In other words, planning for contingencies like this one is what primes System 2 to act, rather than succumb to its natural laziness. Persona 3, the capitulator. This happens when the interventionist burns through its fuel and reverts back into the defender. It's the most dangerous persona of System 2 because you'll look right at a compromised decision and swear you're still being objective. Go back to our hiring manager. It's the 17th resume of a long afternoon. All morning he did it right. He read critically. System 2 was genuinely on duty. So what changed? Nothing about his method, only his fuel capacity. Kahneman adopted the term ego depletion, originally coined by Roy Baumeister in 1998, to describe System 2's finite cognitive capacity in the context of willpower. Here's the key insight. Self-control is not unlimited. Use it wisely, protect it intentionally, and replenish it regularly. At resume 3, he's the interventionist. By 12, the disconfirming question has quietly dropped out. By 17, System 1 decides, and System 2 becomes the capitulator. It signs without reading. He would swear he's still reasoning because he started the day that way. From the inside, the process feels continuous. The alibi, the cognitive sleight of hand, has become invisible, even to him. To recount, here's where System 2 stands relative to the decision. 1. The defender stands downstream, after System 1 has already made the decision. System 2 arrives too late. System 1 is driving. 2. The interventionist stands upstream where the decision is still pending. Here, System 2 is driving. And 3. The capitulator starts upstream as the interventionist, only to become totally depleted, culminating as the capitulator, who signs off without even reading. Ultimately, System 1 ends up doing the driving. Notice that only in the interventionist scenario is System 2 in charge. For the defender and the capitulator, System 2's role can be summarized succinctly. They simply rationalize System 1. System 2's strengths go unrealized. But the horsepower of System 2 was never the issue. Smart people fall into all three personas. The only question is, are you auditing System 1 or justifying it? In other words, are you questioning your gut instincts and other System 1 heuristics, or are you defending them? So what do? You build a cognitive environment that doesn't ask you to be sharp when you're empty. You come up with a plan, or in this case, a comprehensive suite of plans, to address most any situation where you're vulnerable to acting without good reason, which essentially is what being irrational is. This 5-layer defense pipeline is designed to force System 2 into an active, upstream interventionist state by hot-wiring it into action. Here's a snapshot of the complete cognitive architecture of a self-correcting mind. Now we'll address each one individually. First is the physiological layer, and your primary tool here is HALT. It's a low-cost diagnostic for an exhausted mind. Shout out to Alcoholics Anonymous for popularizing HALT. When a sudden urge or an effortless certainty hits you, stop and run the vitals. Are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? If the diagnosis is hungry, the prescriptive command is mechanical: eat. If tired, rest. This is what I mean by automation. Memorize tools such as HALT in advance, and recall becomes easy. Even if your System 2 is completely depleted, HALT will bring it back online. Doing so becomes necessary because solving a complex problem on low glucose is next to impossible. 2. Environmental change through structural and procedural planning. You have to automate your interventions, as we just learned through HALT, ahead of time. Like our radiologist, install pre-programmed if-then rules for specific situations. For instance, political arguments with certain family members have become extremely upsetting for all parties. My if-then plan for this is easy to implement if I prepare in advance, which is the entire point. I communicate my intention beforehand. I will not talk about politics, and if you do not respect that, I will leave the room. I've been using this if-then plan for several years now. It failed only once. As you can see, these forms of automation are not rocket science. They're easy, deceptively easy. If I have 12.5 resumes to review tomorrow, I will review them in chunks of 5. I'll give myself a short break to decompress, even if I don't feel I need it, to ensure I have my System 2 interventionist active for the duration. Again, a little planning goes a long way. 3. The general metacognition, or thinking about your thinking, layer. It is in this layer where we shift from merely experiencing reality to observing how we process it. A key differentiator here is to describe or observe your thoughts and feelings instead of explaining them, which is a centerpiece of acceptance and commitment therapy, better known as ACT. ACT was coined by psychologist Stephen C. Hayes in 1999. The explaining approach, narrative loop. I'm feeling incredibly anxious right now because I haven't rehearsed the third slide enough, and Dr. Williams is going to notice. I always freeze up under pressure, and if I mess this up, it proves I'm not ready for this PhD. Why it fails metacognitively. It builds a complex causal chain, predicts a negative future, reinforces a fixed identity statement, I always freeze up, and accepts the anxiety as a definitive signal of incompetence. The describing approach, metacognitive reflection. I am noticing the physical sensation of an accelerated heartbeat. Along with it, a thought has arisen. I am not prepared for this presentation. I am experiencing the emotion of anxiety. Why it succeeds metacognitively. It introduces psychological distance. By using phrases like, I am noticing the thought, rather than I am, you decouple your core awareness from the temporary cognitive event. You describe the architecture of your current mental state without needing to justify it. Since I love cognitive efficiency, when we describe, we simply state the facts without casting judgment or rationalizing. When we explain, we are not only judging ourselves, we pile on even more anxiety. By simply learning to describe rather than explain, you reduce your anxiety or similar disturbance, which means you are experiencing instant relief. Of course, you are always free to pile on more disturbance by reverting to explaining, but why would you? 4. The epistemological layer, or knowledge and the pursuit of truth. I like to call this the benevolent or friendly interrogation. It is a structured epistemological framework that requires the use of metacognition, as we just went over in Layer 3, to function. The difference between the two can be understood by the questions they answer. Namely, where Layer 3 metacognition addresses the how, Layer 4 interrogation addresses the what. When System 1 pitches a feeling as a fact, an interventionist System 2 hits it with 3 immediate questions. Is it true? What is the empirical evidence to warrant this hunch? And is acting on this assumption helpful? When you get 3 no's, congratulations. You're a proud owner of an irrational, unhelpful, and unwanted belief that, if acted upon, will likely produce negative consequences. What is happening here is difficult to overstate. You use System 2 to interrogate System 1, and in doing so, you discovered a negative belief that, up to that point, was running automatically and subconsciously. But now, you have something you didn't have seconds earlier. A choice to accept or reject it. That's what I call self-empowerment. 5. The systemic layer, culture and power dynamics. While I originally developed this layer for leaders, you can use it on anyone to further assess their character. Ask yourself, how do they treat strength? How do they treat weakness? And how do they handle dissent? Again, they will reveal this to you without having to ask them explicitly. And by this tool alone, you can make well-informed decisions quickly and intelligently. System 1 loves displays of uncompromised power and total tribal alignment. System 2 is required to notice when dissent is being silenced. Install the rules of engagement in advance so that being right doesn't depend on being rested. That's how a finite mind gets more out of itself. Democracies run on arguments. A public that lacks critical thinking skills, like these, is entirely vulnerable to whoever shouts the loudest. If that's something you value, equip yourself. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who will put it to use. Until next time, I'm John Balla, reminding you to think critically and choose wisely.